Welcome. We're talking about our July 2022 full moon. Before I cut to the chase, you can get access to all of this knowledge and information. Astrology is natural, not man-made, completely open source and free. You can go to my YouTube channel and there you can get free astrology resources. You can also join my Astro School at rasalilacommunity.com for a monthly subscription. You can get access and learn all of this information yourself. I'd rather you know how to interpret the astrology than have to get this information from me, someone else, or an iPhone app. Now, if there were two particular seasons and two particular zodiac signs I could highlight and emphasize, it would be the Cancer Capricorn seasons. As I've mentioned in some of my videos, the planetary nodes of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are in the Cancer Capricorn polarity for all of us at this time. This indicates the evolutionary movement for our entire species. And you can check out my last video on Lilith that goes very in-depth about where we're evolving from and headed towards as a species. Now, at the end of June, we had our new moon in Cancer. So it's not only the sun transiting Cancer, it's after the new moon in Cancer we really begin this season. Cancer is the season of sentiment, family, going within and withdrawing to process and digest our own emotional content, our feelings, which is informing us from the inside, our story, our past, our history, going all the way back to childhood, going all the way back to our prior relationships. Indeed, this is what may be a very emotional time. So much to digest. And I have noticed that through all of our various experiences, trials, tribulations, and tragedies, we all get these as human beings. It's all a part of our evolutionary journey. But boy, these things can very much be felt at this time. Now, I mentioned Cancer Capricorn polarity, duality. So this full moon in Capricorn, opposite to the sun in Cancer. In January, we get a full moon in Cancer, opposite to the sun in Capricorn. This brings up one of the most important dichotomies of our day and age, which is between the most missing and needed medicine of Cancer, emotional safe space, the support of a family, which means people we feel safe and accepted to be ourselves around, to process, to emotionally digest. That emotional intelligence, that safe space, the safety to be held and supported in our feeling is the most missing and needed medicine of emotional security. Capricorn, the opposite sign and polarity, is physical security. It is our livelihood. It is our need for societal contribution. And this is an important need because what I notice is all of us tend to seesaw towards one polarity or the other. So societal contribution is an important need which can be felt under this Capricorn full moon. It's a moon that puts pressure on us. It's a moon that reminds us of the world in which we live, the society that we're born into, the governing forces that rule over us. So Capricorn brings up the theme of expectation, obligation, societal pressures that we have to deal with. And again, a part of our human nature is we need societal contribution. It is not a service to humanity to escape or to bypass our contribution back to society. And at the same time, this is again where we run into the dichotomy, the conflict between the time needed to digest, process, retreat, honor our sensitivities, honor our emotions, and the pressures, the needs for money, for physical survival, for earth beneath our feet. And this is the dichotomy, the teeter-totter that we all go back and forth on during this full moon every year during Cancer season in July. Pay attention to this polarity. In January, under the Cancer full moon, during Capricorn season, I notice a lot of people get sick because we have so much pressure to perform. You know, after Christmas, do your work, get back to business, and it's cold. We're challenged in the Northern Hemisphere. We don't have the space to emotionally digest and process, so people get sick. We lose our fundamental health and vitality. Now, this is going to be a theme for this particular full moon in July that's going to point us to our missing needs. That's going to point us to where we need a healthy counterbalance. Okay, so the full moon squares Chiron in Aries, which is stationing retrograde several days after the full moon on the 19th. And that's going to create this teeter-totter dichotomy all the more. We also see asteroid Juno, the partnership asteroid, squares Venus on the 10th, and the full moon itself is opposite to asteroid Ceres, a very lunar asteroid herself. So we've got all these dichotomies. As we mentioned, Cancer, Capricorn, inner security, outer security. The necessary space and time to feel safe inside, the necessary structure, roles, and support to build on the outside, to build the castle, the life that we want. The Juno-Venus square is going to bring up a dichotomy between taking care of ourself versus taking care of another. Similarly to the full moon in Capricorn, opposite to asteroid Ceres. Taking care of obligation, world, society, duty, job, versus taking care of family, or we could say our inner child or our own emotional baggage, taking care of self versus taking care of other. Inner security, outer security, like a teeter-totter back and forth. And this needs to be the evolutionary mechanism, the vehicle to embrace. And those of you who follow my work, we know that there is no perfect getting it all together, nail on the head, 100%, graduated, enlightened, finished, perfect. There is no such thing in reality. We embrace the journey. So this is the mechanism. The teeter-totter going back and forth can help us to evolve and integrate an inner system of self-support. These are the months. Again, what I simply want to get through are these fundamental basics. The vast majority of people watching these videos, no offense, it's not 100% informed of what astrology is. It's largely just going to listen to my words. So if there's anything I can get through, pay attention to the Cancer Capricorn season. These seasons strike a chord of our collective consciousness. These are some of the most important evolutionary dynamics where our species tends to struggle, and where there's so much opportunity for healing and growth. Now, the full moon squaring Chiron, turning retrograde mid-month, all the more highlights this dichotomy and what is likely to come up this month as what might be a crisis experience, emergency, reactivity, triggers. But this is going to be, folks, a month, especially once we start getting to mid to end of July, highly revolutionary period. There's going to be certain triggers, reminders that's jabbing on the individual level, but also our collective, to step it up, to come alive. This is about activism, Chiron in Aries. And what we are healing is our confidence to lead, stand up, and protect ourselves. This is an important dynamic to highlight this month, as there's a tremendous amount of healing through gender healing, a tremendous amount of healing through relationships, and what also can be a tremendous tension in relationships or between genders. And we are at a time where genders are completely evolving. There is obviously more than the simple duality, and this is an important part of returning to the feminine in our evolution and liberation of consciousness, identity, self-expression. as a human person. But what we're talking about here is largely a tension that has to do with biological nature. And I'm not saying that like anyone's limited to their biological nature. Our biological nature is the challenge. How do we deal with this body? How do we deal with these urges? How do we deal with differences in body, gender, hormones, programming, how we're connected to nature? This is, again, where there's going to be healing. And Chiron in Aries is largely the healing of the masculine. And here I'm speaking not of gender, but of energy. Masculine, or what might be better said as yang, is a protective, outward, defensive capability to separate, when necessary, from outer influences, whether they be of detriment or leading us astray, to know when to cut the cord, to liberate ourselves. Chiron in Aries is largely going to be a healing through individuation, or what may be separation. But this separation is for the core healing of the individual, and how to protect our individuality, how to stand up for what is most important. This also has to do with, healing our passion, to come into a real sense of being alive, like there's more blood going through our veins, and the more energy that we feel, the more alive we become, the more we can do, the more activities we can participate in. So this is about birthing leaders. This is about birthing trailblazers, those who dare to go against the grain, those who dare to get up on their soapbox, challenge social norms, stand up for a cause. And this is also going to be a healing of biological sexuality, healing libido, healing stamina, healing physical energy. This is a full moon that can bring up physical challenges, health challenges. And if we're looking at physical or health challenges, we need to look at this dichotomy between physical security and emotional security, because both of these things can affect our physical health. The experience of Chiron in Aries in its wounded form is like being punched in the gut. Again, there may be sudden drops, instinctual reactions, cutting of the cords, and when this reactivity happens or sudden changes happens, it can go one of both ways. There can be this volcanic eruption, right? And we become a gladiator in the Colosseum, shredding other people to pieces before we know it hit us. Or it could be this punch in the gut where the wind's knocked out of us and it's just like, and we got nowhere to go and we got nothing to say and we're paralyzed. That's the other way that Chiron and Aries can go. So it's like hyperreactivity or energy deficit. And again, this is the dynamic we're working with to create a system of self-support, to reparent ourselves in a way where we feel a maternal safety and security, to honor our inner content when those feelings need to be processed because they're informing us of something deep, something real, something from our past. It's familiar. It's speaking to us from our stomach, our gut. And then to be our inner source of guidance, our inner therapist. You're doing a good job. Keep your head up. Look at everything that you've done, even if other people haven't seen it. You have done it. You've come this far. I'm proud of you. Good for you. We have to have these two sides of our internal GPS system. And as we're getting these little triggers, Mercury squares Chiron in several days. The Sun squares Chiron today. It can be verbal, certain words, not being able to communicate, communication coming out the wrong way. We do need to have the space and time to chill out, evaluate, not judge things on the instinctual, defensive level. We have to allow for the discomfort, the triggers to come up, to tell their story, but that's not the end of the story. I think that's probably one of the most important things when it comes to Chiron is embracing the healing journey. This is absolutely foundation to all of my work. It's a very Chiron type of medicine that I disseminate through my words, teaching, readings, etc. So we're not trying to get to the finish line. We're not trying to be perfect. We're not trying to carry that burden on our shoulders. We're also not to put that on anybody else. They need to be perfect for me. They need to be completed. They need to have no weaknesses. They need to have no wounds or reactivity. I need somebody who's completed and perfect, and then I'll be completed and perfect. Again, this Juno, Venus, this is going to happen when we sacrifice too much into another person. Is that type of resentment or frustration will happen. And then a necessary separation is to heal from over proximity or over sacrifice or over giving. So that anger, that reactivity comes from a healthy place. But if it is simply that, it just turns into a forest fire that has no end in sight. So we have to listen and hold the inner emotion, the feelings, the reactivity. We have to create the chunks of time, partition our schedule to have the balance between work and leisure. This is not, it's unfortunately something due to our oppressive prison world, something that's hard to pull off with our 9-to-5 schedule. But this is essential to preserve our soul. Hence, we're all struggling right now. Hence, we shouldn't carry the burden of having it all perfect. Nobody can have it all perfect right now. To be totally honest, where we are in big time, collective time, is those of you who are at the absolute front lines of evolution. Y'all know who you are because you're completely isolated. You feel that intensely. You know that you're doing good work, but you're not really any longer expecting to be understood by everybody else. The rest of the world will ride your coattails into the future. But for those of you who are at the cutting edge, leading this evolutionary work of the species at this time, what that involves is us puking out our past traumas. And the more that we can remember, feel, and then puke out our past traumas, childhood, past lifetimes, that is our service to the species and the collective. And as we get ourselves cleared out, we become more and more capable, energized to bring that same healing medicine to others, to help others to safely puke. The most essential missing medicine, bottom line, for this healing journey is safe space. A home that's not under threat of being evicted. Friends that we can actually talk about our inner experience and actually be heard. No more this, how are you feeling today? Oh, I'm great. Well, the weather's great. You know, any of this dissociative, avoidant, bypassing, it gets further and further and further away from the most missing need medicine of safety. And we talked about this under the Cancer new moon. This most missing and needed medicine sounds something like, come into my home, put your feet up on my couch while I cook you a warm meal and tell me your story. You are safe to feel whatever you are feeling in the moment that you feel it. I'm not going to judge you, tack a label on your forehead, and send you to prison until you learn your lesson. That punishment and reward model, which is distorted Capricorn, is the downfall of our species. Now, this needs to be embraced on the individual level. I see this as tremendously lacking. It's like a huge blind spot. And this is what I'm also addressing, is blind spots in philosophy, culture, and religion. Okay. When I spoke in that Cancer New Moon video about this most missing and needed medicine, a lot of people responded, yeah, but you can't be nice and take care of a bunch of narcissists or take care of a bunch of vampires. Absolutely not. We need to make sure we're not in an abusive dynamic, which means some level of listening, caring, and support. Okay? When there is listening, caring, and support, yes, we can. Be very soft, be very vulnerable, be very caring, and we don't have to have our battle axe out. The whole battle axe coming out instantly and declaring war on everybody else is the downfall of our species. This avoidance and running away from the discomfort of vulnerability and talking things through is the seed of evil. So we need to set down the good guy, bad guy narrative, whether it be in our immediate relationships, whether it be in culture war or fighting the Illuminati, or, blaming capitalism. We have a responsibility. And that's the theme of this full moon. We have work to do. And the work that we are here to do is the work that we are born to do. The work that we're here to do is the work that only we can do. This whole pick up your battle axe and declare war on the world because you're awake and nobody else is, and so get everybody else on your mission, is purely delusional. It doesn't work. It doesn't help. All it does is burn forests down. Everyone's going to have a highly unique work and service to offer back to the world. In some societal contribution, we need to do that if we want to evolve as a species, or if we care at all, if we have any heart at all. We're not simply going to run away from the world or from societal contribution. This is a huge blind spot in a number of New Age as well as traditional spiritual belief systems. This is called the renunciate path, right? And we used to, because I'm encouraging us to no longer pay respect to the sexually repressed monk alone in their cell who sold their soul and is a void, as if that's some type of service to the collective. Some people, it is, because everyone has their own individual truth. For some people, meditating like that may be leading the collective forward. Very well true. All I know is that's not true for everybody. Okay? So we have to interact to know what's ours and what's theirs. Then we have to pass back and forth our needs. These are my emotional needs. This is what would really help me feel supported on the inside. These are my structural needs. This is what I'm looking for in order to build this and make this get going on the outside. Okay? So there's no longer this one size fits all and everybody has to be the same and this is what's going on in every single circumstance. It's going to be very, very different. For example, this Chiron in Aries, healing the masculine, is playing out in very, very different ways, depending on circumstance. Again, this can play out completely biological, physical, health. How can we get our body back online? What is our body as a map for our soul and consciousness, directing us towards this needs more care? This needs more attention, There's going to be this alarm going off for each and every one of us. Or have we repressed who we are as a unique individual? And there's things that we want to do. And that inner child is banging on the door. Say you grew up in an oppressive household. Many of us did. You didn't have birthday parties as a child. Well, that doesn't mean as an adult it's over and we should shut that calling up where that inner child that might even be very angry is saying, I deserve a birthday party and I want the pin the tail on the donkey and I want the bounce house and the 12-decker birthday cake. That's a desire. Yeah, we feel those desires in our stomach, in our gut. They get reactive. It turns into a furnace when we repress any of our individual needs. And again, religion, spirituality has such a funny way of actually being evil. Amazing, isn't it? Actually being evil and in the disservice of compassion and humanity by shoving people's needs down. Oh, no, it's not food and water you need. You need to be a better person. Oh, no, it's not money that you need. It's positive manifestation. How many of you have seen those Instagram models showing their mansions and how it's all because they thought positively, that they're rich and successful? Yeah, right. We all have very human needs, okay? Now, this healing of the masculines happening in women, happening in men, happening in any of the full spectrum of gender, which is quickly evolving and birthing itself. They, them, gay, lesbian. I mean, there's so many different things. But regardless, collectively, we're healing this inner masculine. Now, a quick point I need to drop here is I'm not observing when I look out there, and I'm a Gemini. I tune into the news, I tune into social media. That's a huge amount of how I receive feedback from the collective, Gemini in the 12th house. There is wounding for every single gender orientation, gay, lesbian, they, them, woman, or man. And I'm not seeing as much acknowledgement of the wounding of the male gender as much as I'm seeing out there in the airwaves how much the male gender has failed and needs to be ostracized. And I'm going to encourage, although this Chiron in Aries is very reactive and healing through separation, which is going to be necessary at certain junctures in our life, especially for certain souls. Say a soul is healing from codependency. Separation is the most liberating, awesome, going to lead the soul into goodness and pleasure thing that there is, right? But we don't want to ostracize. We don't need to demonize. We don't need to drop more bombs or be overly forceful to the point of creating unnecessary destruction. This is easier said than done, especially in a period such as now, where it's like we're swimming in oceans of emotion. And there's waves striking, and the wave is like, oh, no more. I'm done with this. And whoosh, no, can't have this happen again. Or whatever it may be. Shh, I miss them. Oh no, my old life, you know. And we need to, best we can. It's like we're in the water amusement park in the wave pool. And it's just like, here it comes, up and down. Oh, here's the next one, up and down. Ready? Up and down. We need that bit of humor. We need that bit of detachment and flexibility and ride these waves. Because if we see this wave as the all in all, we're going to be totally confused. Oh my gosh, this is what it is. Wait a minute, I'm not sure. Oh my gosh, this is what it is. Wait, who are they? I'm not, well, they're this. No, they're not. Souls are complicated. It takes years and years of sitting down with the same soul every day to, get to their deeper material, unless you have a birth chart. Just kidding. You need to have access to the soul and a birth chart. That's the best of both worlds. So this full moon aligns with the nodes of Saturn, Pluto, strikes a collective chord, inner security, outer security. This can also bring up so many emotional memories of actual past lifetimes of the last age. The full moon joins Pluto. This is our whole COVID experience, was this Pluto in Capricorn experience. So as a species, and on the world scale, of course, this is what's happening. It's like, oh my gosh, COVID did put a hole in our ship. Shit! And wouldn't you know, at the end of July, Mars, Uranus exactly conjunct the north node of the moon. And that says a lot about rug being ripped under the feet, global economic shift, food, agriculture, money. We don't want to count the amount of decimals and digits in our bank account as if that is our actual rate of success. We need to take these things very much with a grain of salt. Everything's going to be moving around. The whole collective's going to be feeling very insecure. Get your feet on the earth. Put a pot with a flower growing out of it, even if it's in your city window. These reminders will help us to get through this period, which will not be the end of the world. But I have to say, when people's bank accounts get affected, this is the thing that makes the world believe it's the end of the world, more than anything else. Why? Capricorn. We've been in a culture that has emphasized Capricorn, your 9 to 5, what your boss thinks of you, how much of an inheritance you're leaving your children. That has been our standard of success and what that has created. our tremendous insecurities, tremendous blind spots and holes in our self-regulation, our good health as a very diverse, complex human being. Okay? So this full moon's going to remind us of our history, of our society, culture, everything that's working, and there's a lot that's not working. Happy full moon in Capricorn. Again, remember this every year. If you are in a bad mood, go on my channel and view my full moon in 2021, full moon in Capricorn. It was titled like Prison Planet. It's basically a 30-minute bitching at humanity from yours truly. And if you're in a bad mood, it might make you feel a little better. The point is, this sometimes is felt, right? Like how we talked about in the Lilith video. It's like, wow, our species does actually de-evolve, and it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Welcome to planet Earth. This is how it is. No, there's not a portal on the next Lionsgate and everybody steps into Sirius and the future. Lionsgate's not even aligned with the star Sirius. It's all delusional. It's not going to be like that. This full moon is going to shake us. We're going to see what's wrong with our world. And I encourage us to sit down and feel that. It's uncomfortable. It's a bitchin' full moon. And again, if you're grumpy, listen to me bitch and moan. I do it to give permission to others to do the same. Why? We need to see what's not working with our world and society to understand what's missing, and that will be our work. That's our service. And it's not likely to get served to us on a silver platter. Oh my God, everyone just needs Reiki. Oh, everyone's saved. Phew. Good thing. Oh, I just invented the Merkaba evolutionary device. You just wear it around your neck and you'll ascend instantly. Whew! Good thing I don't have to offer anything that's actually of benefit to humanity. I'm saving the world with my pure fantasy. Yeah. Saturn, Capricorn. I see this as the most challenging planet. It's called the planet of mastery in traditional astrology for a reason. But boy, spiritual people can really struggle with Saturn, right? We have to make up some societal contribution because we're not actually helping anyone in the world. People need food, shelter, care, education. Education of what? How to get food, how to get shelter. Education of sexuality. Education of keeping ourselves clean and healthy. The most basics is what our world is starved of. We don't need any more delusional fantasies. No. If you want to raise your kundalini, clothe people, feed people, that's how you're going to ascend. And honestly, as you start to do that and as you start to ascend, and you will spiritually progress, and that's measurable and that's observable. You're going to lose that desire for ascension. It's not what it's about. What would really make us feel good is if we can provide support for one another. And in order to do that, we're going to have to get our raft afloat first. The North Node transiting Capricorn, this full moon trine sextile, North Node in Capricorn. It's not selfish to get our own biological needs taken care of first. Food, shelter, basic sexuality, even things that we thought weren't basic needs are basic needs. This is where what may start off as a nightmare world, wow, we live in a world of zombies where people forgot even their most basic needs and how to even be a caring person. Which does not require any schooling, but we actually do need this schooling now. And I highly, highly recommend Nonviolent Communication, taught by Marshall Rosenberg. If you go to my channel, youtube.com/Rasalila Healing, and go down to recommended teachers and resources. If you're not familiar with Nonviolent Communication, there is a video from Marshall introducing what it is all about. It is the most missing and needed medicine of cancer, how to listen, how to offer emotional support, how to resolve conflict, distilled, perfected, It is absolutely magnum opus work, well ahead of its time, not known by enough people. And guess what? There's a lot of education that's required, or we could also say de-educating, because as Marshall says, we've actually become educated to be uncaring. We've been educated to deal punishment and reward, and that's what kills our empathy and emotional intelligence. Oh, they need to get shown this. Oh, well, they deserve this. No, it does not help people, ever. This reward punishment model. It's not how we show care and support people in their actual processes to feel held as a soul. We need much more than this. So anyways, you may want to check that video out. It may make things easier. I'm also going to leave my hypnosis guided MP3 on sale. It's 30% off. You can go to rosaliliahealing.com/store to download the Journey to the Inner Child MP3. If you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed, this might be a good thing to listen to. It's an easy, effortless process that simply guides us into our own feelings to really listen to that story. And it's done through, personalizing different facets of ourselves so we can form this inner system of self-support. So we're inner parents going down to meet the inner child, listen to them. Those emotions, they're overwhelming, they're intense. Then that inner child informs the inner parent what to build, what to construct, to protect and honor our needs, our sensitivities. And once we start to honor our sensitivities, which will be different per each and every person, again, a birth chart's really useful to understand these sensitivities. A lot of people that are considered psychotic are very sensitive and don't know how to handle their own sensitivities in this deaf, blind world. So this is how we're creating a system of self-support. By listening to the inner child's voice of lack, or I'm hurt, or this is not fair, we're going to hear, this is what's missing, this is what's needed, this is the work that I can do. Last year into this year, it's the time to change our career. If something's not working, it's the time to do it differently. And there can be some major hidden blessings. Even though this is a temporary, uncomfortable rite of passage, like the snake is full and needs to digest before we're going to start feeling alive and moving once again, but we'll have all that energy from all this digestion. This is to bring us on track with work, relationships that are fulfilling. We are recognizing what to actually prioritize. And there are some major shifts that need to happen, but this is in the effort of resurrecting our souls. Even the most painful evolution, coronavirus, was a Saturn-Pluto on Pluto's south node event. The last time Pluto was on its nodes was World War I and the Spanish-American flu. These are not comfortable experiences that are in the service of our collective evolution. We needed a kick in the pants. We needed this spur to create these changes, to reprioritize what's actually needed on the individual level and on the collective species level to keep our world from continuing to go into the ditch, continuing to revert back to the dark ages. Now is the time to experiment. Even if you open up your wallet and a fly comes out, even if it's feeling very unstable right now, it could very well be worth it. And I say it that way because, again, we need to be not delusional. We can't go on a mission creating Merkabas that are going to raise everyone's frequency as if that actually changes the world. No, you're doing that to appease yourself and all of these ulterior missing pieces and blind spots that are being avoided and resisted. So we have to keep ourselves distracted. But if we allow ourselves to get into the uncomfortable pieces, we're going to discover those blind spots, and then it's not going to be a mystery why we have the challenges with our parents, our bosses, our siblings, our relationship. We're not meant to be everybody's best friend, but we do need to have support, and we absolutely can discover our part. That's my rant this time around. I'm going to close my trap. And again, for those who want additional rants, check out my video from last year. It went viral because I was just so intensely annoyed and negative. But sometimes, misery likes company. So anyways, I'm wishing you all the best. I look forward to talking to you next time. Things are going to pick itself up in August. July is a very dense month. Give yourself those extra credit pats on the back. Don't take it overly seriously. This too shall pass. Much love.